Guys, I want all of you to come back in time with me to 2014. CW's The Flash premiered and was a hit. Kim and Kanye got married. Frozen was literally everywhere. Ellen took this selfie with a lot of famous people at the Oscars. I don't really see what the hype was about that, but she was getting all kinds of praise. Taylor Swift released 1989. It was a really good year. But I mean, I wonder how all those things are holding up today. Oh. Yikes. So I guess that just leaves us with 1989. I mean, how well does that album actually hold up 9 years later? Well, that's what we're gonna find out today. If you guys don't know, I'm doing a series of videos on my channel where I break down some of Taylor Swift's most popular albums, and every penny that I make off of this series, and really all the videos on my channel, is gonna be put towards purchasing tickets to see her live. I really wanna go, but I'm a broke college student with no job, so these YouTube videos are literally the only way I could possibly save up for it. So if you're interested in helping out, a like really does go a long way. But anyways, with that out of the way, welcome back to the Era Saga. I feel like wearing sunglasses for this whole video is just kind of dumb, but I want to keep them on for the joke. But then you can't, it's not as expressive, you can't see my face. I'll be honest, when I first listened to 1989 in my every album video, I wouldn't say that I overlooked it, but I think I was a little underwhelmed because to any non-Swiftie, 1989 is like the Taylor Swift album. And if I'm being honest, like after last week's videos, this shit's probably not even in my top 5. But it's pretty good. The production and everything about all these songs just sounds super clean. Get it? It's a reference. And with one exception, I think this album finds a really nice balance of regular instruments and electronic sounds that just doesn't date itself too much. Like, you know how right now nostalgia inspo is like insanely poppin'? You got artists like The Weeknd, Dua Lipa, even Midnights. And 10 years ago, it was all about the new synths or like beat drop sounds, you know? 10 years before that, I mean, I was a baby, so I don't know, maybe like Frosted Tips or something. And just because those songs are so defined by trends doesn't make them bad. But what happens when a new trend comes along? Like, how many motherfuckers do you know that still bump Closer by the Chainsmokers? 1989 does have a pretty strong retro aesthetic. I mean, it's called 1989. The album cover is a Polaroid. But what the fuck, Jason? You were just saying that this album doesn't date itself. And it literally has a year in the title. Well, I personally think it boils down to the amount of inspiration that she draws. You know, it's a very muted 80s vibe as opposed to the flashy in-your-face type of stuff. Instead of those blinding lights, aha type sounding synths, she uses an electric guitar that feels pretty reminiscent of older stuff, but I mean, it's a fucking guitar, you know, it's not gonna age. And even when there are synths, they're used in moderation, so yeah, they just don't feel that outdated production-wise. 1989 is also probably Taylor's most consistent album. Like, from start to finish, no song ever really feels out of place, and there's not a single song that I feel like is so much better than the rest that it outshines them. Like, obviously there are better ones and worse ones, but let's just say on some of her other albums, I think it's very much a great or mid. You know, there's not that good, whereas this album is consistently good. And I wasn't expecting this album to feel cohesive, because I mean, it's all just pop, right? Like, all of these songs were essentially made for the radio, you know, back when people actually used those things. But I feel like the similarities in the production throughout make it a much smoother listen. And even though it doesn't really have a singular theme, there's just this like really fun, cheeky energy to it that I feel like distinguishes it amongst her discography. I'm not doing a writer's workshop for this album for obvious reasons. There's just not that much lyrical content there. But I do want to shout out one of my new favorites on the album, All You Had to Do Was Stay. First off, banger. Absolute banger. I swear, Walt and Jesse laced that song with their finest batch. Because every single time that chorus hits, I just fucking... Second, I really like how this song uses a super simple lyrical concept, but the production and I guess just the musical choices that are made, I don't really know, make it hit a lot harder. Like, bro, that high stay goes so hard, man. And I feel like that was a really bold choice because, you know, it's so abrupt that it could throw a lot of people off, but they just layered it in this sort of way that makes it feel like this fucking jolt of lightning. Like, it surprises you, but also feels really satisfying. But it's not just this song. Out of the Woods, How You Get the Girl, Shake It Off, I Know Places, and others on the album are all conceptually simple songs, but it feels like they're embracing that simplicity and doing as much as they can to make it bang. And the thing with pop music, especially back then, is like memorability is usually always the top priority, and the simpler the tagline, the easier to remember, right? So the fact that all these songs have these taglines that are really easy to remember, it's definitely a big contributing factor to why I think these are all great pop songs. I feel like there's a common misconception that the reason pop music can be more shallow than other genres is because there's a very big priority of memorability and the hook. But hooks are important with all music, man. Gold Digger by Kanye West. A lot of us know the verses, but everyone pretty much knows the I ain't saying she a gold digger, but she ain't messing with no broke fellas. Even with Beethoven, they remember the dun 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 dun, not anything else really. That is a Beethoven song, right? I don't really know. Where the shallow part to pop music comes in is when they just focus on only the hook and the verses and bridge are kind of ass. But that's far from the case here. Like, these are all really good songs. Banger! The chorus and the synth at the beginning just fucking hit. Great way to start off the album. It's really good, but I just don't like it as much anymore because it was so overplayed. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? Where the fuck's my button?
It's a banger! It's a banger! It's a banger!
I really like how the chorus drops into those slower drums. I'm kind of tired of this one too. It's a banger, but also a really overplayed one. And I just don't really relate to the lyrics, standing in a nice dress, red lips and rosy cheeks, you know?
It's a banger!
It hits. Like, it's definitely one of the most emotional songs on the album. It just doesn't really touch any of her best work, in my opinion. Also, her vocals do this weird doubling thing when you listen to it with headphones, and it just feels really dissociating and weird. I don't like it. But as a song, I think it's really good. I forgot I Know Places, but it's okay. Let me tell you guys, alright? The xylophone on this fucking song is killer. And this song does hit, but the climax is just kind of underwhelming in my opinion. It definitely could have used like either an added guitar riff or some sort of like nice fat tom, I don't know. Something to like drive it home though, you know? It just felt like it was missing something in like the mids range. It's alright. I just don't like Talk singing Taylor. Kinda slaps, like it's a good song. And it's alright. Like I was saying earlier, I think it's the hooks that make this album at the end of the day. That and the production, which is just really fun. Punchy and out of the woods, soft and reserved and clean, and just plenty of stuff in between. Hey, that's a bar. Taking these fucking sunglasses off. Oh my god, it's so bright. Of all 10 of Taylor Swift's albums, only 4 of them are purely pop music, which begs the question, is 1989 her best pop album? Hard to say. It's definitely the most pop of all of them, but to me that kind of works against it. Like, other than the subtle vintage vibe of this album, it definitely doesn't have as much, I guess, character compared to the other ones. We all know that this album is pretty much her most popular, so going into this venture I was really curious to see why. Like, amongst the Swifties, it's definitely not talked about nearly as much as the other ones, but why is it that this one has seen the most commercial success? I know Midnight's broke records and is technically her most popular album, but I feel like it's more because of the Swiftie fan base just growing stronger and bigger, whereas 1989 was popular with like everyone, you know? And the short answer to that is that it's the easiest to digest. I think it's literally some of the least experimental pop music that I've heard in a really long time. And that isn't a diss, it just means it's really easy to consume, you know, easy to listen to, easy to enjoy. But I get it though, you know, making it generic, pure pop music makes her intentions super clear, you know? Like, if she had added a little bit of an acoustic guitar in one of these songs, you never know, someone would have been like, it's a fucking country album. And it's not only setting a new status quo for her career, but showcasing that she's more than just a country singer that can make pop music. She can also be a full-on pop star. So, yeah. Guys, I know earlier on in this video I was joking about how all of the songs in 1989 are bad except for one. But jokes aside, listening to this album again really did help me realize that Shake It Off's not bad, you know? Like, when I put aside my pre-existing beef with this song and just pressed play, I actually enjoyed it a lot. So much so that it's now in my top 5. Psych! What the fuck? You actually thought I did a 180 on that bullshit? As if, bro. That shit is ass. That shit is butt cheese spread on Wonder Bread. I probably listened to this album like 5 or 6 times in the past week, and every single time all you had to do was stay ended. You best know I was ready to press skip before I heard a single cymbal play. And I hate that it's probably her most popular song with the general public, because it's just so bad. I am convinced that that is why people hate on Taylor Swift, okay? They don't know anything about her. All they know is Shake It Off is bad. And to them, that's all they need to know. But here's my actual top 5. It was actually insanely difficult to make. I don't even have it down while filming this. I'm just assuming that editor Jason will figure that shit out. Because in my opinion, there's probably only one S tier song, but the rest are like all A tier. Except for the one fucking below F tier garbage. Anyways, to close, I'll say this album is really good. and I definitely understand why it was popular. But in a way, it feels like Taylor Swift pop music level 1, or like freshman year. I don't mean to flex, but freshman year of high school, I had some pretty dope-ass grades. But I was also just the worst. Like, I sucked, man. I was such a loser. But when I got older, I became less of an asswipe, and yeah, my grades suffered a little bit, but I mean, I'm in college now. Like, I made it. It's fine. I feel like that analogy made no sense, but basically what I'm trying to say, if there were a way to objectively grade music, this album feels like the best made pop album, like, on paper, but it's also kind of an NPC. Like, there's no creative spark or individuality to it, so because of that, I'm giving it a 7.75, because I do think it has a slight edge on Lover. But at the same time, I don't really think it's close to Evermore SOS range. So, I guess we're doing quarter decimals too now, which just makes everything so much more complicated, but whatever. Anyways, comment below your favorite song on the album, as well as where it ranks amongst your favorite Taylor Swift albums. And like this video, subscribe if you're new. All that support seems small, but it really does go a long way. And I'll see you guys next week with a very special installment to the series. I'm not gonna say which album it is, but if you want to check out my Instagram, you know, I've been posting some teasers there. So yeah.
All you had to do was stay. 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 Yeah.